Good evening, everyone. I'm Marinta Skupin, Curator of Education here at Laguna Art Museum, and I'd like to welcome you to Live at the Museum. It's our monthly concert program presented in partnership with Laguna Beach Live, and it was pre-recorded this month in the museum's beautiful steel gallery. The museum is open to the public at limited capacity at the moment, so I very much hope that we'll see you here. I'll now ask Cindy from Laguna Beach Live to introduce tonight's musicians.
Hello, I'm Cindy Pruitt, President of Laguna Beach Live. Welcome to our Live at the Museum, or virtually Live at the Museum. Laguna Beach Live is a nonprofit. We've been here for 20 years, bringing great music to Laguna, intimate venues at accessible prices. And COVID has really reinforced this for us. We still have our great music, but the intimate venues so far has been at your home with our virtual performances and accessible prices. Everything is free that we do. We do a number of chamber music. We're starting a jazz series and other offerings, so please check our website for that at lagunalive.org and join us there if you can. What's coming up now is the Laguna Beach Music Festival, the week of May 12th through the 16th. I think we're right in the middle of it. And check there. They're limited tickets, but there will be some in-person live performances that week. But now it's my pleasure, first to thank you to Laguna Art Museum for hosting us here. And it's my pleasure to introduce our two outstanding musicians. They're usually very busy with Southern California orchestras. It's been not so busy because of COVID for them, so we're especially glad to have them here. And that's Christin Webb on bassoon and Michelle Matsumune on flute. And they're doing a series of solos and some ensemble pieces. So thank you very much, and welcome to Christine and Michelle.
Christin Webb, and I play the bassoon, and I'm so grateful to be here at the Laguna Art Museum again. The last chamber music concert I played was in February of 2020, and it was here. So it's very special to come back and have this concert here with you today, except for you're not here with me today, and it's very strange not having everyone here, but I am going to take advantage of the amazing acoustics in this room, especially for this next piece. This piece is by Hildegard von Bingen, and she was a German medieval composer, artist, poet, mystic. She counseled popes and kings. She was quite something for her time. She had very powerful visions, and she was sought after all over Europe. And this was during a time that women were normally illiterate. So she was quite special. And she ran an abbey, she was an abbess, and this is a piece she would have written for the nuns to sing. It's a hymn, but it sounds more like a chant because it's monophonic, it's just one melody. And what I'll be playing on bassoon isn't so different from what you would have heard the nuns singing. They would have been singing in Latin, and the text is about the Virgin Mary, and it's a very repetitive piece that sort of is to put you in a trance, but when the melody hits the high register, that represents a point in the text where it is a point of ecstasy about the Immaculate Conception. So I hope you enjoy.
Hi, my name is Michelle Matsumune, and I play the flute, and thank you for having Christin and I here. We started this concert today with a prelude from François Couperin, which was written in 1724. It was part of a suite called Nouveau Concert. It was the fifth concert of that. And we're going to end our program with the last movement of that same suite called Musette. But in between, instead of playing all the songs of that suite, we decided to create our own suite out of solo instrumental music and fill it in with kind of the timeline of Western music history. So Christin went way back into the medieval times to start with her first solo. Mine is a lot closer to the Baroque. In fact, the piece I'm going to start with today is a CPE Bach, which is the son of Johann Sebastian Bach, and nowadays Johann Sebastian Bach is considered the biggest name Bach there was. However, in his time, the son was very well known and he was very influential. In fact, he's considered to represent the transition between the Baroque era and the classical era and paved the way for people like Haydn and Mozart. This piece that I'm playing is a sonata for flute solo in A minor, which is kind of a throwback to an homage to his father's one solo piece for flute that he wrote, which was also in A minor. I'm going to play the Allegro from that. And in its time, it was written in 1747, and in its time it's considered very experimental because he has the flute doing much larger leaps than you would do in the Baroque era, and he actually wrote his own dynamics, which was also something that wasn't done before. So I hope you enjoy it.
Next, I'm going to play two short pieces by the 20th century Venezuelan composer Antonio Lora. He was a guitarist and a composer, and in the 1940s, he became inspired to write Venezuelan waltzes for classical guitar. These pieces are pretty beloved by the classical guitar community because on one hand, they have a very straight-ahead, accessible street guitar aesthetic, but on the other hand, they can be heartbreakingly beautiful and very personal. He wrote each waltz about either a family member or a close personal friend of his. In the 1990s, the Latin jazz composer and clarinetist Paquito de Rivera arranged some of these waltzes for bassoon, and I'm going to play two of them for you now.
I'm going to play a couple of French pieces for you next, and I'm doing them back to back and introducing them together because they're only written about 20 years apart, but they're kind of worlds apart in style, and I want you to be able to just listen to it and see what you think of the similarities and differences between the two when you hear them. The first one is Johannes Donjon's Elegie, and Donjon is not a very well-known name. He was a flutist as well as a composer, and so all of his works were written for flute. He writes for flute in the style of Chopin and Liszt, where he would write showy pieces for himself to perform. So there's a lot of good flute works by him, but he's not that well known. His piece was written in 1891 and very much feels like an old style romantic piece. The piece I'm going to play after that is probably the most famous flute solo piece there is, Syrinx by Claude Debussy. That was written in 1912. And interestingly enough, he didn't bother to publish it in his lifetime. He thought it was a throwaway piece that he wrote for incidental music for a friend's play. And he didn't even title it Syrinx. Debussy just wrote on the manuscript, Piece for Psyche, which was the name of the play. And it was only the publisher who came up with the name Syrinx. Syrinx is a very well-known version or representation of impressionistic music, and was written literally 21 years after the very romantic style. So hopefully you'll enjoy these two songs.
next piece is by the American contemporary composer Adolphus Hailstork. He is an important African-American voice in the arts today. In 2019, he was commissioned to write a piece for the LA Phil, and I believe he's working on a piece now inspired by George Floyd. This piece he wrote in 1996 for solo bassoon, and it was for the National Association of Negro Musicians. I really enjoyed working on this piece because it's 4 very quick movements, and within each movement there are very distinct voices that I believe capture the pandemic brain, that manic back and forth that at least I've been experiencing, and I'm assuming some of you may have too. Especially in the first movement, it's a little cadenza-like, and there's definitely 2 very dramatic voices fighting for the spotlight, and then one very calm, chill voice that keeps taking over, that keeps trying to keep things under control. Also, the third movement reminds me of an article I just saw in the New York Times, maybe you saw it, that talks about this mood we have all had of being not quite happy, not quite sad, not quite depressed, as being languishing. That's the term we're supposed to use. And I believe the third movement of this piece captures that feeling in a very tender way, this idea of not quite happy, not quite sad, but definitely full of emotion. The second and fourth movements are increasingly manic and fun, and I very much enjoyed working on this, and I hope you enjoy it too.
The next piece I'm going to present is entitled Goldfish Songs by local composer Jenny Brandon. She's based in Long Beach. And I feel like this is a great companion piece to what you just heard Christin do. It's got 4 short movements, fast, slow. And the thing I really love about this is Brandon manages to really capture fish. Apparently there's lots of different kinds of goldfish. I was unaware of that before. But she has this way of creating the shimmering movement as well as the slow, languorous movement. Like, you really hear fish in this composition. I think it's a lot of fun. You will hear a little bit of extended techniques, which on the flute that just means I'm playing things that the flute was not necessarily intended to play on purpose. A lot of modern composers use those. You'll hear some harmonics in the second movement. It's very effective. I hope you enjoy this.
The next piece I'm going to play is called Zinfandel, and it's written by the LA composer Rina Ismail. She is known for incorporating Indian classical music into her compositions. She is the composer in residence right now for the LA Master Chorale, and I believe she just finished a season with the Seattle Symphony as well. This piece, however, was written in 2010, right as she was beginning to contemplate incorporating Indian classical music into her pieces. So this is more based on the idea of Indian classical music, so improvisation with a great deal of control. That's the first part of the piece. The second part of the piece is based on a glass of wine and maybe contemplating that wine, looking at the glints of light, seeing the swirls of color, and perhaps there's some Indian classical music on in the background. I hope you enjoy.
The final piece I'm playing for you today is entitled Move It by the African-American composer Carlos Simon, and this is very recent. It was written in 2020. Simon is an Atlanta-based composer who also does a lot of chamber music and also film scores. This piece is a lot of fun. There's a lot of jazz influence, and it's kind of got a very percussive, constant beat all the way throughout. He also uses some challenging extended techniques. That was a fun exercise for me to learn some stuff I hadn't learned before. You'll hear, besides the harmonics that you heard in the Brandon piece, you'll also hear some tongue thrusts and some very, very fast tonguing. Very fast. I hope you enjoy Move It. This is quite a ride. Thank you so much.